Hi there, I'm April Callis-Birchmeier. I'm a certified change management professional, master change management professional, and project management professional, as well as a certified speaking professional. I'm excited to be here today to talk with you about a really important topic, and that is secrets of successful CCMPs. I know that many of you have questions about how to become a CCMP, what's the eligibility, how many hours does it take? And my goal today is to really be able to spend time answering all these questions and sharing with you updates and information about how to become a successful CCMP. These are lessons that have been learned from the exam journey. So let's start off in talking about what is the CCMP. CCMP stands for Certified Change Management Professional. And the Certified Change Management Professional is a designation, a certification that's offered by the Association of Change Management Professionals, ACMP. And it's sort of a sister certification to the PMP, the Project Management Professional, that is offered from the Project Management Institute, PMI. So I know there's a lot of acronyms in this video today, but I really want to share with you what I've learned from helping more than 150 people earn their CCMP certification. It's a really interesting designation because it means that you have both experience and expertise in change management, and you've proven that you know how to apply your experience because you have to complete some essay questions for the application to even take the exam. And then you have to pass the exam, and it's not an easy exam. The entire CCMP is based on the standard for change management. And I'm one of the people who worked on both the original standard that was released in 2014, and I also worked on the second edition standard, which was released in 2025. So I have a lot of experience with the standard as well. And the standard is, I'd like you to think of it as like a gold standard, right? Like if everything were perfect, this is how change would be run. If we had all the time, all the budget, all the resources in the world that we needed, this is what we would do. And because the standard has been set up by hundreds, actually, I think it's more than 1,000 change management professionals worldwide, it is based on best practices. And it's based also on a job task analysis that the Association of Change Management Professionals performed to ensure that we captured the work that change management professionals do. And if you're right about this point wondering, what do change management professionals do? Well, they do many, many things, but primarily they are focused on assessing the organizational readiness for change, right? Looking at the organization, looking at a change. And maybe this is a computer change. Maybe it's a change that is a structural HR change throughout the organization itself, the way people report to each other. Maybe it's a merger or acquisition type of a change. There are all sorts of different types of changes in different organizations. But the goal of the standard is to say this is an approach that is recognized by thousands of change management professionals as the right approach to help people move through change, move from that current state to the future state. And change management is really the recognition, it's really the definition of it, is that we are using a structured approach to help people and the organization move from the current state where we currently exist to the future state where we know our organization is going in the future. So it's important that we think about change management and these 5 process groups within the standard, evaluating the organization, assessing the change and the change readiness of the organization, Then we also have formulating the change management strategy. So thinking about how are we going to approach this change strategically throughout the organization and making sure that we're in alignment with other strategic goals in our organization. Then we move on to developing the change management plan. Now, developing this change management plan is so important because this is the detail. The strategy is sort of the approach and how we'd like to go about this change. But the detail is in develop the change management plan. That's really the what. And that includes change management component plans like the resource plan, the communication plan, a sponsorship plan, stakeholder engagement plan, measurement benefit realization plan, a readiness plan. We also then have our learning and development plan and a sustainability plan. So there's a lot of planning that goes into change management and helping people to move from the current state to the future state. And I think also after we've developed the plan, the fourth process group there is execute that change management plan, execute the plan. And then the fifth process group is close the change management effort. So knowing that we have 5 process groups in the standard and we have concepts of change management that are baked into these process groups, and then we have the code of ethics. And the code of ethics really is how the association expects professionals to behave, and it is a code that we hold each other to, an ethical code of how we behave with clients on projects. And the code of ethics has 5 different pieces. There are different duties in the code of ethics. So we have the duty of honesty, we have the duty of responsibility, we have the duty of fairness, we have the duty of respect, and we have the duty of advancing the profession and supporting practitioners. So it's important to just know that all of that content is a part of the CCMP exam. That's what the exam is drawing from, the standard for change management. So now let's talk a little bit about things that I know can cause candidates, CCMP candidates, or people who are thinking about earning their CCMP to kind of struggle or maybe delay in scheduling their exams. Because one of the things that I think is so important is just really knowing what's ahead of you in terms of that CCMP exam when you're going forward. The first piece that I have seen frequently, and I have worked hard to eliminate this obstacle, is letting the application itself stop you. The application for the CCMP is not the simplest application. There are a lot of nuances to completing it. You have to identify your education. You also have to identify the 21 hours of required training that ACMP says you must have in change management to take the exam. Now that 21 hours is can be, from a QEP, a qualified education provider. The ACMP has already approved their training, or it can be from a university or a program such as a certificate program. I know ProSci has a certificate program, and there are some universities with certificate programs. And so those programs also offer the 21 hours of training, but many times you have to submit the syllabus of the organization, like a university, if you are going to ask that you have the 21 hours from the university counted as your change management training. So you must have and that 21 hours has to be within the last 7 years. So I have a confession to make. When I sat for my CCMP, my training had not been in the last 7 years. It was prior to that. So I had to go get new training. And that was really good for me. I thought it was really interesting to be able to attend an excellent course and to learn from it and to be able to then show that I had updated my training requirement and I had my 21 hours of training. Then once you have your education that you've identified, bachelor's degree or associate's degree or PhD or your master's, whatever it is, I I really encourage people to put their 4-year degree in first and then move on to that secondary degree, that advanced degree, because it impacts the application form itself. And then after you've got your education in there and all the 21 hours of training have been identified, then you are completing your experience. And it's somewhat like a resume or CV, where you are identifying the company you worked for, the years you worked there, and what it is you were doing. And you're also showing how many hours of change management work you had, because you have to show at least 3 years of approximately 3 years, 4,200 hours of work in change management, experience in change management, to be able to apply for the application. So if maybe you worked 6 years in change management, but you were only 50%, well, you could still count that 6 years at 50% would still end up being about 4,200 hours. So I'm showing my hours worked, what percentage was of those hours were in change management, and then I am moving on to everybody's favorite section, which is the essays. So there are 5 essay prompts, and they correlate to the uh, 5 process groups in the standard for change management. And you must complete 3 of the 5 essay prompts. And the essays are about 500 words or less. So they're not terribly long. They're about, half a page, 3/4 of a page. And so the goal is to apply your experience to a change management prompt that comes from the standard. Once you've got your essays completed, your experience, your training, your education, your personal information, then you can click on the statement of understanding, basically, and submit your application to take the exam. So that's a lot to do, but it's worth it, because when you finally apply to take the exam, that's when you can start to study. So I don't want you to let that application stop your goals. There's help out there, a lot of help. You can email me or text me. I'd be happy to help. Giving yourself a long runway, I think, is also a little bit of a problem for people. Once your application is approved by ACMP, and it usually takes about a week to get that approved, then you have a year to take your exam from the day your application is approved. So don't wait until the week before your year ends up to start to study. You need to study over the whole year. I don't think it's great to give yourself a full year to take the exam, because I think having a sense of urgency, having a deadline is very helpful to many of us who tend to put things off unless they have a deadline. So give yourself a deadline. Don't make yourself wait a full year and think about studying, but don't actually do it and have this long runway. It's hard to put off studying. It weighs on you, hangs over your head. So just pick a date and move forward on studying. I also think another piece that people run into, maybe a blocker, an obstacle, is that when they read the standard for change management, they're just sort of skimming it instead of really understanding it, instead of really spending time thinking of the application of the information in the standard. And, I understand that it is difficult to read a document that is somewhat dry, feels a little academic, feels a little bit like Charlie Brown's teacher, wah, 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 wah. But it's important to not try to read so much at once that your eyes are just going about it and your mind is wandering. Spend 20 minutes, spend 45 minutes reading, and stop. When your mind is wandering and you can no longer focus on what the standard says, stop. So don't skim it, truly understand it. Another problem that I see as an obstacle for people who are wanting to pass the CCMP exam is that they don't have an idea of what the exam itself will look like, and they don't understand what their day should look like, their exam day. Um, One of the things that I think is important to do is to really plan out your exam day. And that means, where are you taking your exam? Are you going to do an exam that's proctored in an exam center? Are you going to do an exam that you're doing at home with an online proctor? Uh, it matters. You should know. And you will have to choose before you can schedule your exam. But my recommendation to you is to do it at an exam center because they take care of so many things. You show up, you lock your valuables in a locker, you go sit down at a desk, and they take care of the rest. So it's important to have a good understanding of what your exam looks like and what the exam day itself will look like. And then another obstacle that I have seen with some students is that they'll go through the exam too quickly. You are allotted 3 hours to take the exam, and I expect students to take 3 hours to take the exam. Now, if you finish at 2.5, 2:40, that's fine. But I don't want you to finish within an hour or even 90 minutes because that means you haven't spent the amount of time you need to really understand all the questions. There are 150 questions, and each of the questions has to be carefully considered, and you have to choose the correct answer out of four. There will be four multiple choice answers, and you must choose the correct one. You can save some for later. If you have a question you don't know how to answer, you can kind of guess and then save it for later and go back. But I don't want you to go through too quickly. So, with over 150 students who have successfully passed the CCMP exam, I have to tell you what our candidates do differently to really help their exam preparation. One of the things they do is they have a deep understanding, a deep knowledge of the standard for change management, and they know how to use the standard for study, and they know how to use the standard to apply it to things. And that's a really important tool to learn how to actually deploy the standard and to know how to use it at a deep level, because when you truly have the comfort of knowing the standard so well that it's just common language to you, you really feel prepared and you really feel like you're able to lead change effectively because that standard is used all over the world for change projects. I think also using tips and tricks to memorize anything that feels tricky to you on the exam. You know, quizzing yourself a lot is very important in our, we have an exam simulator, so we do a lot of quizzing. But I think that when you find something that feels very difficult to memorize or feels kind of tricky, um, feels a little bit like I'm having a hard time understanding why this is the answer. Sometimes you just have to flat out memorize it. You have to like make a little mnemonic word for yourself. You know, one of the mnemonics that we have used in the past is OPA, to make sure that people remember the order of certain section of the standard. And there are many ways that you can help yourself memorize things when you feel like that's a tricky section for you. I think also ensuring that you practice frequently, testing your knowledge, that you use flashcards to test your knowledge, you write flashcards to create for yourself to test your knowledge. I have a lot of students who have put Post-its all over the wall and, have written things down and they like to move the Post-its around. There's a lot of different ways that you can really practice testing your knowledge. Having exams, mock exams, exam quizzes, and things like that to test you is really, really important. We also have seen our very successful CCMPs really prepare themselves for exam day. They know the route to their testing center. They know how long it's going to take them to get there. They eat a good breakfast or lunch and they ensure that they don't drink too much liquid, they are really prepared to move into that test. And those who are doing the proctored exam at home, they are downloading the information that needs to be on the computer to take that standard and or take that exam, and they are also ordering a second camera, a week or two in advance, so that the second camera can view your entire body while you're taking the exam. There are so many places that it's important to plan ahead, because when you have this planning ahead, when you really focus on what that exam day is going to look like, whether it's traveling someplace, and then what are you going to do to reward yourself afterward, or whether you are thinking about taking the exam at home and what will you do afterward to kind of celebrate that. All of those really matter, and that's what makes our CCMPs really successful. And then we also like to have you study utilizing different learning styles. So everybody learns slightly different ways. Most of us have kind of a sense of how we like to learn. I like to learn by writing things down. It's really important for me to handwrite. Typing doesn't do it for me. I like to handwrite things, and I like to kind of move around. So I'm one who likes to handwrite. I have a lot of Post-its. I like to handwrite my Post-its and put them on the wall and move them around as I'm studying different things. Some people are really strictly visual in terms of, like, they love to read things. They like to look at flashcards. They want to see how something lines up. And in the standard, we have swim lanes that show the different process groups. It's between the 5 process groups and the code of ethics. So it's an important thing to know if you are a very visual learner. Some learners are auditory. They like to hear things. And so, putting your standard into a PDF reader is a great way to listen to it. You could upload it to Notebook LM, although they might make a funny podcast about it, and that's maybe won't be so great. But if you like to hear material, there are a lot of tools that you can use. You can have somebody read it to you. You can read it to your pet or a child that can't get away. I think also you can, we know that we have kinesthetic, we have visual, and we have auditory learning processes. And you probably have a good sense of your learning style and the kinds of things that help you learn. So it's important to use those learning style cues for yourself to really help you memorize and to prepare and to really get deep into the knowledge of the standard. I think it's also important to have support along the way. Like, if you have questions, and you don't have any way to get those questions answered, that's really frustrating. So, you can feel free to reach out to me, but it's great when you have a study group. And a lot of chapters have study groups. There are a lot of different places now to be able to study. I have a community where people study. And so it is a wonderful thing if you can connect with others who are moving forward in this direction, who are going to take their CCMP, and study with them and help each other and hold each other accountable so that you're able to get this completed, because it is a heavy lift, but it's worth it. Truly, truly worth it. It has really changed many careers because it shows that you have proof that you know your stuff, you have expertise, you have experience, and you've been able to pass this very difficult exam. So if you have a support group of some sort, or you have a group of folks that you know from your ACMP chapter, or even maybe from work, that are all thinking about taking that CCMP exam, it's a great way to kind of combine all of the work and some community at the same time to make it worthwhile. So I think that earning the CCMP is such an important milestone for many of us who are in change management professionals. It's kind of, expected when you've had a certain level of experience. You need to go take care of that. You need to show that that level of experience exists, and you need to be recognized for it. And that's one of the things that we're really good at. We love to recognize CCMPs. So if you have questions about how to do anything, feel free to reach out to me. And if you are interested In learning and in obtaining your 21 hours of qualified education provider training, we have a cohort that begins on February 23rd. We're starting our Ready, Set, Change accelerated training and exam prep cohort. We do live online sessions on Mondays and Thursdays for 3 weeks and 1 day. So Monday and Thursday, we'll do from 4 to 6 p.m. on Monday, 4 to 6 p.m. on Thursday. And there are pre-recorded sessions in the middle of the week that you can also catch up on during the weekends. And that gives you a lot of flexibility. So you're in class, talking to other change practitioners, talking to me, I'm teaching the class, and ensuring that everybody's getting what they need. So we're having this conversation, we're working through problems together, we are completing deliverables together as a group. And that's the live online section. Then you're doing your standard pre-recorded sessions by yourself, but in your own time frame. So you can do them as you are, spending time after work. You could maybe listen to some of the videos, the pre-recorded sessions when you're going to work, when you're commuting, whatever you're doing. So I just wanted to let you know that we have this opportunity for the cohort. It begins on February 23rd. That means that enrollment ends on February 23rd because we don't enroll anybody after we begin. It's an accelerated course. If you're serious, if you want to earn your CCMP, please reach out and come join us. We're going to have a wonderful time. We have a great cohort shaping up, and we cannot wait to celebrate you as a CCMP. So come join us.